In the shadows of the southern desert, when the sun scorches the earth and the sand shifts to erase all memories, lies a shadow of a forgotten empire. But this wasn't always a land of the dead. Oh no, it was once Nehekhara, one of the first and greatest human civilizations, a golden kingdom whose pharaohs commanded armies that conquered nations and whose cities shone with majestic splendor. They were built as monuments meant to last eternity, but their obsession with conquering death itself led to a damnation that not even the grave could contain. This is the story of the rise to glory and the catastrophic fall into an endless waking nightmare that are the Tomb Kings of Settra. Long before the Age of Men as we know it in the Warhammer Fantasy universe, while other fledgling cultures were arguably still figuring out mud huts, the kingdom of Nehekhara was already ancient. It was a land of warring city-states ruled by priest kings who fought endless bloody civil wars for dominance. The great Mortis River brought life to the desert, but ambition brought only death. This era of strife was destined to end forged into a single unyielding empire, by the will of one man, Settra. Crowned as the king of the city of Khemri in a time of plague and famine, Settra was a ruler of unmatched ambition and tyrannical will. He was a brilliant military strategist, a ruthless warlord, and a man possessed by a singular all-consuming fear: oblivion. He saw his own mortality not as a natural end, but as a personal insult. He refused to let his greatest deeds be forgotten, to let his empire crumble after he was gone. He looked upon the world and saw only lands yet to be conquered. And he wept, not for their sake, but for the fact that the single lifetime wasn't enough to claim them all. Through sheer military might and cunning, Settra did what no king before him could. He crushed his rivals, ended the civil war, and united all of Nehekhara under a single rule. He became the first High King of a unified empire, adored by his people as he ushered in a golden age of prosperity. Under his command, grand temples were restored, and magnificent statues were raised to honor the gods, securing their favor. The harvest was plentiful, the armies were victorious, and the borders of Nehekhara swelled. His full title became a litany of power, a testament to his own ego. Settra the Imperishable, Lord of Earth, Lord of the Sky, Ruler of the Four Horizons, Great Lion of the Infinite Desert, Great Hawk of Heaven, Great Emperor of the Moving Sands, Eternal Lord of Khemri. Yet, for all the earthly power, he remained a man, and the specter of death loomed ever closer. To defy his mortal fate, Settra gave a grand decree. He elevated the once quiet mortuary cults, a priesthood dedicated to the rites of passing, and gave them a new, impossible mandate: conquer death itself. He commanded them to find the secret of eternal life, so that he could rule his glorious empire for all time. The priests, eager to secure their new station of power, promised to do just that. The mortuary cults grew to become the most powerful religious and political force in the empire, though the other gods of Nehekhara were still worshipped. The greatest minds of the kingdom dedicated themselves to this singular purpose. They developed potent rites and subtle magics, learning to unnaturally extend the lives of the pharaohs far beyond their natural span, yet true, unending life remained beyond their grasp. The flesh, no matter how well preserved, eventually failed. As Settra's own unknowingly long life drew to its inevitable close, the mortuary cults offered him the ultimate promise. They couldn't keep him alive forever, but they swore they would find a way to bring him back. They would resurrect him into the perfect afterlife, a golden paradise where he could be reborn to rule for eternity. Trusting their oaths, Settra commanded the construction of the Great Pyramid of Khemri, a tomb more magnificent than any monument ever built. Upon his death, he was mummified with unparalleled care and entombed to await his glorious reawakening. For centuries, this became the way of Nehekhara. The pharaohs who followed Settra lived and died, each were entombed in their own vast pyramids, trusting the promise of resurrection. A tradition was established. The firstborn son of the nobles were given to the cult to serve as priests, while the second son inherited the throne. The Lich priests as the highest-ranking members came to be known, witnessed the rise and fall of entire dynasties, their own lives extended by their strange arts. All while they perfected the rites of preservation, preparing for the day they would fulfill their ancient promise. They became masters of the dead, but they would soon learn that there was a far darker path to power. The doom for Nehekhara came not from a natural disaster or a foreign invader, but from the very heart of the Mortuary cult. His name was Nagash, the firstborn son of the Khemrian king. Nagash was bound by tradition to serve as a high priest, a duty he bitterly resented. He craved the power his younger brother held, and his ambition was matched only by the cruelty of his genius. His dark path began when he captured a group of shipwrecked Dark Elf sorcerers. From them he learned the winds of magic, raw chaotic power that dwarfed the intricate death-focused magic of the Mortuary cults. Nagash delved into the forbidden arts, combining them with his existing knowledge to create something new and terrible, the science of necromancy. He murdered his own brother, Thutep, and seized the throne of Khemri for himself. Nagash's reign was one of pure terror. He perfected his own vile elixir of life, granting himself a twisted form of immortality, while his key lieutenants were granted their own warped form of eternal life, binding them to his will. He raised the first legion of the dead, not as honored ancestors, but as mindless skeletal warriors, animated by his dark will. For nearly 50 years, or so history says, he forced the entire civilization to labor on a single blasphemous project. The Black Pyramid. Built of obsidian-like stone and infused with raw warpstone, this monument wasn't a tomb. It was an engine designed to channel immense magical energy directly to its master. His tyranny became so great that the remaining priest kings finally had enough. In a vastly simplified version of events known as the War of the Seven Kings, they laid siege to Khemri. Despite Nagash's undead legions, they managed to overthrow the necromancer. Nagash was defeated, driven into exile. The seeds of Nehekhara's destruction had been sown. The 9 books of Nagash contained all his necromantic lore, and were scattered but not destroyed. Centuries passed. Nagash festered in his fortress of Nagashisar and planned his revenge. His influence crept back into Nehekhara, corrupting the city of Lamia, where the machinations of Queen Nefertata gave birth to the curse of vampirism. Empowered by their new defiance and centuries of bitterness, Nagash unleashed his final horrific vengeance. Most accounts now claim his agents, the Skaven, poisoned the Great Mortis River, the very lifeblood of the Empire. A virulent plague swept across Nehekhara, turning verdant plains to black dust and extinguishing nearly all life. The land barren and the people dead or dying, Nagash captured the last living king, Alcatazar, and began his ultimate blasphemy, the Great Ritual. For a month, under a rare celestial alignment, Nagash funneled immense power through his body and a network of pyramids across the land. His goal was to raise all the dead of Nehekhara as an eternal, mindless army, bound only to his will. It was a spell of unimaginable scale, one that would have given him an unstoppable force to conquer the entire world. But in a twist of Skaven self-interest, they decided Nagash was becoming too powerful and intervened. They freed Alcatazar and armed him with a powerful blade. The ritual wasn't flawed, it was sabotaged. Alcatazar ambushed the exhausted Nagash, cutting him down. The spell was cut short, its final crucial binding phase left incomplete. The waves of necromantic energy washed across Nehekhara, and as intended, the dead began to rise, but they were not bound to Nagash. Across Nehekhara, tomblets ground open, pyramids in every pyramid and every crypt, mummified remains began to stir. The great ritual worked, but its sabotaged execution produced a terrifying result. It was as if the souls of the ancient dead were ripped from their slumber and shoved violently back into their preserved bodies. Crucially, their minds, memories, and wills remained their own. They awoke not as gods in a golden paradise, but as dry skeletal husks in a ruined kingdom of dust and silence. In the great pyramid of Khemri, Settra the Imperishable awoke. He felt the magic course through him, felt the body move once more, and expected to open his eyes to the paradise he was promised. Instead, he saw only darkness, dust, and decay. The rage of a betrayed king, a rage that had simmered for over 1,000 years, exploded in a torrent of silent fury. He burst from his sarcophagus and emerged into the ruins of his once glorious capital. He wasn't alone. The kings from innumerable dynasties rose, their skeletal forms adorned with cracked finery. Settra, as the first and greatest king, commanded them all to kneel, but these weren't his living vassals. They were wrathful spirits, enraged by their cursed immortality. They refused. What followed was a spectacular civil war, as the stories tell, hundreds of undead kings battling for control of a dead empire. Even in death, none could match the will and power of Settra. After 7 days and nights of battle, he finally defeated the last rebellious kings and reestablished his indisputable authority. The Lich Priests, now eternal servants, bent the knee and raised the legions. Rank upon rank of skeletal warriors, their bones held together by ancient oaths, rose from the sand. War chariots manned by skeletons once again rolled across the plains, and from the deepest vaults came the constructs, towering Ushabti guardians with the head of the gods, monstrous necro-serpents, and other great tomb constructs animated to serve their eternal king. The Tomb Kings, as they are now, were united under their true king. But Settra's ambition wasn't sated by ruling the kingdom of the dead. He saw the world of the living, the fledgling empires that had risen in his absence, as nothing more than temporary occupants of his rightful land. They were thieves, and they would be scoured from the earth. And so, the legions of Nehekhara march once more. They aren't on a constant world-conquering crusade. Rather, they launched a brutal, focused campaign to reclaim their lost glory and territory. Driven by an arrogant, bitter pride, the Tomb Kings have become a terrifying, expansionist undead power. Settra the Imperishable, his lust for immortality, ironically granted, now leads his endless armies to reconquer the world he believes is his. They are not mindless monsters. They are the rightful monarchs of a civilization that simply outlasted death itself. They are silent, eternal testament of the fact that some ambitions are too vast for the grave to contain, and that in the land of Nehekhara, death is only the beginning. If you've enjoyed journeying into the lost history of the Tomb Kings, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more lore from the world of Warhammer. Let us know in the comments below which dynasty of Nehekhara you'd pledge your loyalty to, and make sure you check out all of our other beginning guides to the factions of Warhammer, the Old World, that are coming soon. And I will see you guys in the next one.